It's Camdork.
Hello everyone, this is Camdork, and welcome to episode number 45 of Season 2 of my Buildcraft, a series where we play Minecraft with the mods Buildcraft, Thermal Expansion, and Forestry installed. Well, here we are on the top of my base looking out over the front at the wonderful landscape as you see in front of us. We rarely ever kind of do this, and or at least from this vantage point, as well as we rarely do this face cam thing, so I decided to start it out this episode with that. In addition, since this episode is not going to be, it's going to be predominantly an inside the base episode, yeah, here you go. There's your view outside. Let's head inside and do stuff now. So, what are we going to work on this episode? Well, it's going to be a continuation of what we started last episode, which was down here. And everything you see here, and that is the new power plant that we're building here. If you have not seen episode 44, I highly recommend it because it kind of sets the stage for what we're doing today. Otherwise, the quick recap is that we had a power plant, it broke in the update, and last episode I did indicate a real simple way we could have updated this this power plant. Kind of a simple, boring way, which is just using Buildcraft and Thermal Expansion. Here, the whole idea is using Buildcraft only. After all, this is a My Buildcraft series. We are using Buildcraft only, with the exception of aqueous accumulators down there, but we could replace those with pumps if we wanted to. But the whole idea for how this the principle about how this system works is that we have a inventory here, and the amount of items in this inventory dictates how many engines are on or off at any given time. Because in this power plant, we need to be able to turn off and on a set number of engines as dictated by the needs of my base. So if I need to have one system on that's only using 4 of the engines, I want to add 4 engines to whatever is running here. And then when I'm done with that, I want those 4 engines to be removed, but keep everything else. And so in order to do that, this allows us to essentially add and remove engines at will by adding snowballs from this chest into here. And then when we want to decrease engines, we take them out of here and put them back in this chest. So, last episode we figured out the timing necessary for, we had to send a signal to this gate or this gate, and the timing necessary to send 10 snowballs is right here in this monostable circuit. And that basically turns on one piece of this redstone. And so 2 pieces would be 20, 3 pieces would be 30 snowballs, 4 pieces would be 40 snowballs, and so on. And so today, the first order of business is actually to talk about the longer timers. So this is a pretty sizable timer here for just 10 snowballs. So what about adding, and I want to have timers for 10 snowballs, 20, 30, and 40. So what about the longer timers? Aren't they going to take up so much more room? Actually, the answer to that is not really. In fact, they're going to be a little bit smaller. So let's go ahead into the creative world and mess around with some timers to move a set number of snowballs from one chest to another. Okay, and we're also going to talk about some of the errors that we came across in last episode. We noticed it wasn't very consistent, and actually it is consistent, just, well, you'll see in a second. So I'll be right back, and we'll start experimenting. Okay guys, well now it's time to do some experiments, once again in creative mode, to just see what we can do in terms of the timers. So last episode we set up this. This was a... Hello sheep. You can go ahead and watch, it's no big deal. So last episode we set up this timer, and this timer is timed such that we send out 10 items, or 10 snowballs from this chest, into this dispenser. And we have a stack of 12 snowballs in this chest right now. These alt-archic gates are set to when they receive a redstone signal. That triggers the energy pulsar, and both of them are set such to do that. And doubling the gates on here actually doubles your output, which is pretty nice. So, when we push this button, let's see, we had 12 items in there. Let's see how many items actually come out. What I've found is that it's not always 10. Sometimes it's 9, but a lot of times it's 10. So there's 2 items in there, which means we send out 10 snowballs. Let's do this a few times just to do complete the experiment, I should say. Now, I've done this a number of times, and I can tell you it's like 9.7 is kind of the average. Alright, 10 again. Maybe one time we'll get a 9. We'll see. We'll do it one more time and see what we get. It's pretty consistent, pretty close to 10, but sometimes it's a little under that. Haven't decided why, but there it is. There's 9. Okay. So there you go. Finally, I get a 9. Okay, so I can tell you that there's a 1 and 3 right there. It's like 9.7 is the average, which is good. I would rather be a little under than a little over. So that's fine. Now, what happens, though, when we take this stack of 12, so the same number of snowballs, and split it? An interesting thing happens when you do this. So let's go ahead and see what we get now. Let's see how many are transferred. Hey, wait a minute. 8? That seems low. Let's do it again. Again, 2 stacks of 6. Let's see what happens. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I, of course, already know the answer. I'm just showing you guys for funsies. Okay, well, that time it was 9. All right, not bad. Well, basically what you end up getting is never 10, or almost very rarely, I should say, do you ever actually get 10 transferred. Almost always it's 8 or 9. Actually closer to 8 most of the time, although it's kind of in the middle. Maybe 8.5 is the average. I haven't actually figured it out. Maybe I will in due time. But you generally get 8 or 9, which is kind of interesting. So what's the deal? What's happening here? Well, as it turns out, Minecraft is what's happening. The way Minecraft does things and the way Buildcraft is looking at these items in terms of transferring, it takes a little bit longer, or I should say there's a certain amount of time it takes to send an item out from one stack, but it takes a little bit longer. There's just maybe a split second longer or a half a tick or something crazy where it has to say it looks for the next stack to take out of. So when it finishes one stack, it takes a little bit longer to switch to the next stack and start to empty items out of that. So when you have things split across stacks, you can expect inconsistencies, which means that if we have 16 snowballs and we transfer 10 out, it should be pretty consistent. But if we have 32 and we transfer 20 out, it actually should be not as consistent. Certain amounts of transfers are going to be more consistent than others, but generally, as long as we know that this principle exists, we should be fine. So it's not really going to be a problem, it's good to know that it actually exists, and I thought that was kind of an interesting little tidbit to share with you guys. Okay, so now let's design the timer that will get us 20, 30, and 40, and it's going to be something a little different than this monostable circuit we have here, because as you can picture, and the sheep should know, right? You know. If we want this longer, we're just going to have to extend the number of repeaters, and I'd rather not have a repeater-based timer. So what else do we have? Well, we'll go into that in just one moment. Okay, check it out. This, guys, is a hopper gate timer. It's something I showed in the wool episode where we messed up with our sheep, and this is actually running the sheep wool extractor or whatever. I don't know what I never actually came up with a name for it, but you know, the thing that gets me wool. What this is it's just a hopper timer. I just have 5 items in here, and it's just going to transfer from one hopper to the other. It operates on the same general principle as all hopper timers, except this one is silent. It's totally silent. There's no pistons required. Almost every other hopper timer is a piston-derived one. And this one uses Buildcraft gates. So what this is these 2 gates are set to when the inventory is empty or when the hopper is empty below it, send out a redstone signal, and that basically effectively switches this RS NOR latch. So it's this kind of setup here combined with an RS NOR latch gives you this, and it just transfers items back and forth. You can control it by either stopping it like you saw I had it here, just kind of powering one side, which will eventually power both sides. Or you can hook up pipe gate logic to power it, such as you've seen before, I believe. If I take this, I make this then inventory empty redstone signal, as well as redstone pipe wire, a redstone signal. Now this will only run if I send it a redstone signal. So we're going to do that right now. Just, I guess I'll need a lever. Yeah, why not? Okay, now it'll run. Okay, and it goes back and forth, and now if I turn that off, it doesn't run anymore, which is how we have it running for the sheep timer. But we're going to build a better one of these, but this will allow us the control in a very compact fashion to get much longer timers. But we're going to build an even more compact version of this, which I came up with. It's a compact. version of the hopper gate timer. So we're going to build one right here. So I'm just building these hoppers. We're going to build one together. We're going to build a hopper gate timer, and then we're going to build one that will give us the behavior of the monostable circuit. So this, as you see, just goes back and forth between the two. So the way you build it is this way. You're essentially combining, this is condensing the RS NOR latch on top of the hopper gate timer, essentially. That's basically what's happening. You have to be careful how you build this, because it doesn't quite always work if you build it in, if you don't build it in the right sequence. So I'm just going to send, actually I need items in the inventory first, is what I found. So I'll just have this do 5 items again. Items in inventory, oh, I'm sorry, no, inventory empty, send out a redstone signal. Inventory empty, send out a redstone signal. Okay, so one side is empty. You need to set it up like this first before you hook up all these wires. That's the secret. Then you just put redstone right over here. Okay, cow, move. Alright, so now it should be going back and forth, then it is. Okay, cow freaks out, good. Okay, so there's a nice condensed version of that. It's the same thing, it's doing exactly the same thing, it's just condensed. We could do this as well, no big deal. Now, how do we make it into a monostable circuit? For the monostable circuit, we want it to have one side on for a certain amount of time and then turn off, and that's it. We don't want it to cycle back and forth. Well, all we need to do is actually this. Done. Okay, now it's done. That's it. That's all we need to do. It's real simple. So I'm going to add a little more blocks to this so we can actually see it in action. I'm just going to add 12. So if I power this side, it will stay powered until the length of time of that items falls out, and then it goes back. And then it doesn't transfer back. So that's all we need to do. The other way we can do it is, again, to use exactly this setup. This will essentially work if I send a temporary pulse. It will function in the same manner. But the cheap and easy way is just to do it this way, which is what we can do. So let's go ahead and go over here and set one up, and then do some experiments to see exactly how many items it will take to transfer specific numbers of snowballs into this dispenser. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, well, I built another hopper gate timer, as you see here, again with the one pipe gate here. And actually, we don't need that. Yeah, we don't need that at all. And right now I have, what do I have in there? 8 items in there, just for fun. So let's go ahead, and what we could do is we temporarily power this side of it. So we can do that with a button. We'll just set this up as our little test button. This would be exemplified by the signal coming from our whatever signaling system we end up setting up. Let's go ahead and try it. So there are 16 there are stacks of 16 here. So we want to try to transfer 20 if we can. So let's see. How many will be transferred? So that's... Okay, that's 12 right there. So 12 were transferred with 8. So doing some math, maybe that should be 22. Maybe what we need is like 14? 14 sounds about right. This might be a good guess. So let's go ahead and put that 12 back. Let's test it. Oh, let's switch to better weather. Of course. I think I can set a timer on that as well so that I make sure that it's clear forever, but that's fine. Anyway, let's go ahead and try this one now and see how many are transferred. So open this up and find that it is 20. Wow, okay, that's exactly 20. That's 16 plus 4. That, in my mind, is 20. It certainly is. Cool. Okay, that seems really pretty... Well, okay, it seems like it should be consistent. Let's try... we got that problem again, so okay, let's try now to transfer 20. Okay, let's see how consistent this is. This is run number 2 with 14 items. So 14 items transfers 20 once again. All right, cool. Now let's do the experiment to see if we make this transfer over 3 stacks. Hey, actually, you know what? We'll make it transfer over 4 stacks. We'll make it transfer over 4 stacks. We should get less than 20 here. So that is 6 times 4, which is 24. Okay, so we should have plenty in there. So I'm going to expect less than 20 will be transferred. Maybe like 18, that's my guess. So let's see what happens here. Come on, I want to see them all come in here. 16, 17, 18, 19. See? Less than 20. Okay, so I guess that's not really definitive proof, but it's pretty clear when you actually do the experiments that what I was mentioning in the beginning actually does happen. Yes! See, all the animals are like, I'm really interested. What's going on here? Cool. So let's. I'll continue to do this for some experiments to define 30 items and 40 items. I will do that not with you guys involved because it's kind of just boring little like let's add more items, see how many fall out, add more items, see how many fall out. But that's kind of what I'm going to do. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll go back into the world and build these things. Okay, meet you there. Well, that was fun. So I figured out how many items need to be in each hopper gate timer in order to transfer now 20 snowballs, 30 snowballs, and 40 snowballs. So all the timers we're going to be using in this power plant are done. The only one we're missing, only piece of pulse length information we're missing is the one that will be used for completely transferring items from here to here or here to here. And that's basically from here to here is fully making the system on, and from here to here is completely shutting it off. So I will deal with those separately and in a separate video as well, so we won't be messing with those today. But today we will wire all these pieces together. So right now we have the timer information figured out, we have the way in which we're adding and removing engines figured out. So how do we kind of piece all this together in terms of wiring? Well, enter this. This is the start of what we're going to be using, which is a decoder of sorts. So when you think about the signals that are going to be transferred to, or that are going to be relayed to our power plant, the signals are all going to be including two key pieces of information, represented by these two lines of gates here. In one case, we're going to be figuring out whether we are adding or removing power to the system. So if we add power, that means we have to supply a redstone current here to that alt-archic gate. If we're removing power from the engine or from the system, we have to supply redstone current to this alt-archic gate. So one of these lines is going to be all the possibilities of selecting to add, and one of them is going to be for removing. And then we have 5 different power level options, because maybe we'll want to, maybe this one is represented by adding 10 items, and this is removing 10 items, and this is adding 20 items, this is removing 20 items, adding 30 items, removing 30, adding 40, removing 40, and fully powering the system, fully stopping the system. So that's basically how we're going to be setting it up. Now, how do we actually translate the signals we receive into these, as you see here? Well, for that we're going to be using Buildcraft and the built-in logic. So we have a built-in binary system. So we have actually 4 different pipe wire colors, and you can essentially think of these as a binary number system. So with that, you can actually number this from 0 to, you can have 16 different options for all off to all on and kind of everything in between. So you can actually figure that out, and I kind of did. So we're going to be using 10 of those options here, and each of these gates is going to be, I'll exemplify it by setting it up in one different way. So if we put all 4 wires onto this gate, basically what we're going to be saying is maybe in this AND gate we have a blue pipe signal on, green signal off, red signal on, and yellow signal on. So this is going to be represented, if these are all true, then it's going to be sending out a redstone signal, and then when we send this pattern, we actually will have this gate turn on, but none of the other ones will. So I'll go ahead and wire this all up, and then we'll see a demonstration of this concept in action. So give me 1 second. Alright guys, are you ready? This is actually pretty cool now. So I have this all wired up. Each of these gates has a different pattern, and this is essentially a binary naming pattern. If you want to think of it as this, it's 1011, this is 1101, this is 1110, etc., etc. Here we have 1100. So okay, so what we do is we can select a pattern here. In this case, I will select red-blue. So when it gets a redstone power, we're going to do, let's see, red and blue. Okay, so this should correspond to red, blue, and green and yellow off. And that is, in fact, the only one that turns on. Okay, cool. So how about another pattern? How about red, how about blue, yellow. So blue, yellow should correspond to, on my chart, it's number 9, which actually should be this one right here. So let's go ahead and see that one. And in fact, it is. Okay, cool. So we'll do one more. I also have one that has like 3 of these. So how about blue, yellow, and red? So red, blue, yellow is number 12, which actually is the middle one right here on that side. So it should work. And yeah, there you go. So okay, so I'm going to use that principle to decode this symbol, this system, this signal. So on the top here, we're going to translate this power on into 2 different rows here. We're going to have this green wool placed on top. All of these underneath the green wool, if we put redstone current, a redstone wire on these, and I think, there we go. And, oh, is this on the other side? Yeah, it's on the other side. Okay, I think if I change this back to nothing, I think that's on this side. Yeah, okay, so it turns on this line, as you see. Okay, so it's one of these under here. I don't remember which one it is. And then we're going to have the, just because it's different colors, and we have different colored sheep now for this, we'll use purple, or magenta wool, I should say, for the other line. So one of these is add, and one of these is going to be remove items. So how are we going to actually use this in order to send our signals? Well, basically I'm going to set up, and I'll use yellow wool here to demonstrate, although it may not look exactly like this, but we're going to basically be connecting these to AND gates. So yeah, that could be an AND gate, but let's just use one AND gate. So we're going to have like a one AND gate for adding here, and one AND gate for adding to the other one. This may not be exactly the positioning. I'll have to figure this out probably off camera here, because sometimes redstone wires take a little bit of time to figure out exactly how you're going to set them up. So one of these wires is going to be running to, say, here, and then from below, the timer is going to supply current to this other torch. And when it supplies current to this other torch, it'll actually supply the current to both of these torches, and if this redstone current is on, then it will turn on this torch, which maybe it's wired to that. I don't know. Again, we're gonna have to figure out how to how to wire that, but yeah. And then maybe if this redstone current is on, I'll just put the redstone over here. We wire this up and connect it to, let's just say, for the sake of it, this torch, and which side will be on will dictate which gate is going to be given the power. So we're going to have a common line underneath, so let me just drop right down. We're going to have one common line underneath that's always turned on by all timers. It's just a matter of how long this thing stays on is going to be dictated by which timer is on. And then it's going to send a signal to both of the AND gates here. Not exactly like this, but we're probably going to use a slightly different design of an AND gate that's a little more compact so we can actually fit everything here. And yeah, we're going to do it like that, a little more vertical of a design. So anyway, let me go ahead and set up these AND gates for the way in which they actually are, and I'll basically be able to show you this in a little better detail. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I got a little demonstration of how this is going to work. So actually I don't need this little piece of wool, but what you see before you is kind of a double AND gate of sorts. So down here is leading to the middle line that will be essentially what I'll call the timer line. The timer line is going to be on when the timer is on. So each of these gates underneath will turn on a different timer according to, you know, one of the 4 timers. And then, depending on which gate, it'll turn on either this line or that line. So let me simulate, just go down here and simulate the timer being on. It'll be this line down here or something similar. Powers that torch, unpowers that torch, powers this torch, which basically you'll see in a minute. If I go up, it turns on one of the signals that is common to both of these gates. So there's kind of like a gate over here and a gate over here, and there they have one common torch in between. And so if this torch goes off, then this torch goes on. So that means that if we power this green line, that torch will go on, and essentially it would be powering, if I connected it, it would be powering this gate. This is the add gate. This is the add side. Similarly, if this line is on, then this torch goes off, and this line is powered, which is the remove gate, which subtracts. So that's kind of how it's going to work. And then the problem is that we need to have this line or this line, the add line or the remove line, be on pretty much constantly until the timer goes off. So what we're going to be doing is linking each one of these to their own RS NOR latch signal, and you'll see what I'm going to do in just a moment. So I'll be right back. Okay, well, before we set up the RS NOR latches that are going to be associated with the add and remove lines, let me actually hook up the timers. So what I want to happen is, so this is set to turn on red and green, which is, I think, let me see, which one is it? It's this one right underneath where I am right now, which is right now I have set up a redstone line that gets turned on down there. So let's go ahead down here, and we'll set this up to go to one of the timers. And so I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about, then I'm going to set up the other timers. So for this one, I'm going to move the timer we built last episode, which was this monostable circuit, this sort of very standard monostable circuit. It's nothing too amazing. So right now, it was 6 repeaters. So we basically just link up one side to the other. It does matter which side, kind of. Yeah, it does actually. This side has to go to that way. You can't. It doesn't go the opposite direction. And we'll just put a repeater here. And the repeater here is just because this line is going to be on because it's the common line for every single timer. Every single timer is going to link into this line. So what I don't want to have happen is for the power to back up and activate any other timers. So it just is activated by this timer because this line is on. And likewise, I'm going to have lines underneath this one, and that one, and I'm just going to have to set them up like that. So let's go ahead and test this out. So if that timer is on, it should power this central line, as you see here. It should power this. That was that yellow wool that we saw. And then it's going to power this central line on until the monostable, for the length of time that it will take to transfer 10 items. So let's test it out. Oh, wait. It's going to send a pulse. Okay, I don't know if you saw that. So it would be a pulse that was sent. And so that torch is off in the middle, and you see it turns on. And that's because that was the length of time it took for the monostable circuit to go around and around. So let me go ahead and set up the other timers in a very similar fashion. I'll show you that when it's done. Okay, be right back. And voila! So all the timers are here. Yeah, I just basically fit them all in here. That's the idea. You'll notice that I actually switched this timer, and I added the 10 item timer right over here. And that's just because I wanted to go 10, 20, 30, 40, and then this line is for going to be for either fully add or fully remove items. And recall that we're going to be setting up this in a later episode. So we do have the timers all set for the other ones, as you see. So just looking at the redstone here, this turns on, and when this side of it, of this RS NOR gate latches on, it will send the signal to the central line, as I'm indicating right here. For the yellow timer, that's over here, again color coded to be nice. This is our 20 item timer with 14 item, or 20 items, or 20 snowballs timer with 14 items in there. And again, when this side is on, it will switch on and then switch back. And when it's on, it will power the central line. The blue, or the cyan wool, is linked to this cyan timer. This is the 30 snowball timer. And for that, I add 20 items of cobblestone, and that should be enough to transfer 30 snowballs. And then finally, the orange timer is the 40 item. And that's going to be transferring 42 items of cobblestone back and forth, and that should be enough time to transfer 40 or thereabouts 40 snowballs. Okay, so let's go ahead up and see if these actually work as they are designed to do. So for now, oh, that looks pretty. That looks really beautiful. Right now this is set red, blue. Red, blue is add 10 items. So it's going to power right here. So, and when I turn this on and off, it turns on and off for a very short period of time. If we do red and green, this should be the add 20 items now. So this should be a longer period of time, and indeed it is about double. There it is. It's about double. And so we can test all of these, but yeah, let's not do that. Let's now set up what's missing, which is, what about these torches on the side? Remember, they're controlled by this, and this should be on the same amount of time as these timers. Well, we can link this up to the timer, but that doesn't sound right. What we should actually be doing is linking this up to just be on until the timer is done its business. So how we do that is we keep it on by putting it together an RS NOR latch. So let me, oh, hey, we're at the end. Let me go ahead and fit some RS NOR latches in here for both the green and the purple. We'll keep them color-coded so that they're easier to follow. I'll be right back. By now, guys, you should be a pro at identifying what this circuit is. It's an RS NOR latch, and it functions by having essentially one side be on at all times, and only one side. So this side is on now, and if we supply power to this other side will remain on, and this will turn off. And so this is what we need in order to, if we supply a pulse to this line that I'm on right now, it will now stay on. So I'm going to do that by doing just this. Whoop. There we go. So now it's staying on. It's also having the timer circuit run. You see that line down there was briefly on. I don't know if you caught that. But so the timer ran and then it turned off, and then this torch turned off. But this line right here is still on. So we need a way of shutting this off. So now we have a good way of keeping it on, but we need a way of shutting it off. So what needs to happen in order to shut this off is that we need to turn this off when the timer turns off. So in order to do that, we're actually going to power this torch right here, and it's basically going to do this. Boom. Great. So that's what we need to happen. How do we actually have it connect with this torch turning on once the timer goes off? Well, we're going to use another redstone circuit. And this one, this time, is called an edge trigger. So I'm going to build an edge trigger here. I'm actually going to build it in reverse. So the input is this block right here. This is one version of the edge trigger. There's, I think, a few versions of this as well. So you need to set your redstone here and here, and there you go. So what this will do is that when it receives a signal, a redstone signal, if you look at that torch, you'll see it briefly turns it on, but only when this line right here goes from being off to on. If it's on and then I turn it off, nothing happens. But if it's off and I turn it on, it sends out a pulse. That's perfect, except it's exactly the opposite of what we want. So all we have to do is connect it to this line, but this line is off, and when the timer starts, it would send out a pulse that would reset our lines. And we don't want that. We want the timer, when it stops, to send out a pulse here and connect it to this torch, which will essentially turn on that torch, which will reset our add-remove lines. So in order to do that, we need to actually just take the inverse of this current right here. So I'm just going to do that. And so now this is set to when this line turns on, it will turn this off. And then when this line goes off, it turns this on, which will send out a pulse. And you'll see that happen right here. So imagine we just turned on our timer like this. This timer is on now, and you see that when this line is on, this line is off. When the timer shuts off, you see that this torch turned on, and it would send out a pulse. And this pulse we're just going to connect right to this block right here. So that will turn off that torch. So actually, let's just go up and test it out. So now, when we do the same thing as we did before, this timer should now turn on this. It'll turn on the timer, so both these torches will turn off, but then when this torch turns off, this should turn off pretty shortly thereafter. So let's send it a pulse. Both are off, as you see, and then once this turns on, that turns on shortly thereafter. Pretty cool. So let's try it for a remove function. So that's red and green. Let me do it for, let's see, number 10 would be green and yellow. Okay, so let's say green and yellow. This should be, yep, this is add remove here, and I actually don't know what, that's the short timer. Oh, good. Okay, well, it reverted back to its state. Let's see that again. That was a short one. Okay, so now both of those two are off, and now it does the same thing over there. So sweet. So now, if we put it all together, let's hook it all together. Okay, so we got our snowballs here. This is, this actually somehow has snowballs in it because I think I messed up a little. Okay, I supplied it with a little bit of a current. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make a little test. Actually, this is extraneous stuff. We're going to send 10 snowballs. So in order to send 10 snowballs, by my understanding here, we need a red-blue signal. So there we go. This should send 10 snowballs. Alright, so now it is working to send some stuff. It sent a bunch. Hopefully that's 10. That is 10. That is indeed 10. Awesome. This is so cool. We're going to send 20 snowballs now. That would be, by my estimation, a red-green signal. So red-green should give me 20 snowballs. Alright, so now this is turning on. It should be on for just about double the time. And 20 snowballs, which isn't quite as exact, but hopefully there's something close to 30 in here. And there is 3 power levels on, so that makes sense. And indeed, there's exactly 30. That's amazing. And now let's try to remove 10 snowballs now. So that would be a setting by my calculations here. It's green, yellow, according to my chart. Let's do that. All right, now we're sucking out 10 snowballs. Let's see what happens here. Look at that. That's pretty cool. And now there's 20 left. Oh my goodness, this works great. So that's pretty much how this is going to work. So now all I need to do is actually hook this up to the fuel and whatnot, and I'm good to go. That's going to do it for this episode, but that is a really productive episode. So now all we need to do is hook up this line to some of the buttons over here and the rest of the pieces of my base. And so what we ended up doing is being able to translate just a mixture of pipe wire signals being on that will give our system the information it needs to know how many engines to add and remove from service at any given time in our power plant. So pretty cool. We used a bunch of redstone, maybe learned a few things or two, and this is only really using Buildcraft and vanilla Minecraft redstone. Pretty cool. Alright guys, this is fun, been a fun build, and we're going to continue this later on, maybe in another episode. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode. Take care. Goodbye.